I'm so glad you're here. My name is Bhuva Shakti. I'm the founder of Wallet Max and author of the upcoming book, Everyday Risk Wisdom. I work with early stage founders, corporate leaders, and capital allocators to scale products that matter. Again, without losing sight of people, purpose, or profitability. I've worked across Wall Street tech and policy circles for 3 decades, and today I focus on helping startups grow with clarity, systems, and traction that lasts. Feel free to post questions and comments in the chat, and I'll respond to them after our session is over today. Now, today we are at session number 13 of the Startup Growth Playbook. It's a bi weekly LinkedIn Live series designed specifically for pre seed and seed stage founders. Every other week, I break down a different early traction challenge. How can you win your first paying customers? Or how can you build without a sales team at the start? How can you do the pricing, onboarding, conversion, retention, and build growth systems that are more founder led and can be scalable and sustainable as well? Now, these sessions are really fast, practical, and tactical. So, founders like all of us can move on from uncertainty to action every single time. Today, we are going to deep dive on one of the biggest hurdles founders face: how to convert early users into paying customers. Let me dive right in. So, what is our problem statement today? Let's be honest, most street stage founders are sitting on free users, beta testers, or early signups, and we still struggle to make revenue. We've done the hard work to build something people say they want, but now all we get is silence when we ask them to pay. Now, why does this happen? Because most early traction, it's not structured for conversion. Typically, we build for validation, not necessarily value exchange. Now, here is a fix. We want to build systems that guide users from interested to invested, right? So that's the conversion journey. Let's look at it. A simple founder led system that I try to tell and teach is step one, signal. Step two is trust. Step three is offer. Step four is ask. And step five is convert. I'll break it down with examples. So let's start with step one, signal. We need to make it crystal clear who this product is for and what problem it solves. Maybe ask yourself, would my landing page convince me if I saw it for the first time? Step two is trust. Early users won't pay if they don't trust your insight, intent, or integrity. It's really not about features in the early stage. It's about signals, right? So we need to show them that we understand their pain. We need to show them that we've done our homework, and we need to show them that we are in it for the long haul. Some of the examples could be we can share our roadmap or why we started. We can use small asks like surveys, pilot access, async demos. I mean, the options are endless. Step three is offer. Your offer typically is not your product, but basically what's the transformation? What's the before and after story for the customer? One founder asked is, can you describe your value in one sentence? Start with, we help X do Y. That could be a simple way to put for it. Now, step four is ask. Many founders don't ask for the sale. You must ask clearly and early. Would you pay, let's say, as an example, $29 per month to keep using this? Practice it like a muscle. Step five is the actual conversion. Make it really simple to pay. No long forms, no delays. Maybe use Stripe or something like that. Use Notion paywalls if we have to, right? And then as we are discussing, feel free to post questions or comments in the chat. I'll respond to them after our session is over today. Now let's look at some common mistakes to avoid. Here are like top three conversion killers that I have personally seen. Number one is waiting too long to charge. Sometimes free forever means value is unclear. Try limited time access. The second killer is too many feature promises. I've seen MVPs convert when they solve one thing really well. The third thing is confusing call to action. Don't bury the CTA. say maybe something like, be straight, pay here to keep access. If you're a founder, ask which one of these do you recognize in your own journey? Now let's look at a couple of real startup examples. I've anonymized these for security and privacy reasons. Let's look at two quick examples of founders who nailed it without a sales team. My first example is from a seed stage SaaS startup based in New York City. We had a solo founder offering a dashboard for freelancers to track earnings. She pre sold 40 seats by doing 30 user interviews, asking just only one question: would you pay $9 a month if this solved it? Many of them said yes. She followed up with Stripe links, and that's traction, right? My second example, since I come from a climate fintech and AI space, it's from a climate fintech founder where we were asking, giving away free API access, right? So when you give that, no one was converting. Then we introduced a pricing conversation in onboarding, asking something like, hey, how do you think valuable this data is for you? We were able to convert 4 to 10 users into pilot customers with, of course, some usage gaps, right? So those are simple systems, just enough. And if you make the ask, we can kind of get the traction slowly at the start, and then it builds over time. Now, what can you do this week, right? So there could be a 3-part action plan for you this week. Maybe choose only one user, not a lot. Ask for feedback, ask about their price sensitivity, right? Maybe rewrite your offer to say we help X do Y. Maybe create a clear call to action and test it with just that one person, right? Maybe ask yourself, what's one conversion test you can run this week? And again, now we have seen the high level process. Let's go into some operational steps on how to expand this further. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to post them in chat and I'll respond to them after our session is over today. Now, for our step one, where we clarify our value promise, our objective should be simply refining our core value proposition so early users instantly know what outcome we deliver, right? So some of our inputs can be something like, you can get feedback from 5 to 10 users. You can clarify on the target user segment. We can get some notes from our discovery calls and emails. These are some inputs to our actions in step one, which could be something like, write a one sentence. We help user solve problem by solution. So very simple, in just less than 10 words. What are we doing to solve a problem for a user with just one solution in mind? Let's start there. Then ask this to 3 users. Would the statement describe why you signed up, right? And then keep refining this one statement up until, let's say, about 70% or more. Say yes, you can't really track to 100%. It's more iterate and improve process, right? And your success indicators at step one could be something like, you have a sentence users repeat back to you, and your homepage and pitch deck use the same language so that there is continuity for users across multiple channels where they interact with you. And your outcomes may be something like, your messaging becomes a magnet, you attract the right users. So the checklist for step one would look like, I've written and tested my core value promise with real users. Now let's deep dive into step two. So in step two, we have to really segment and prioritize user types. Start with, not all early users are equal. Focus on those most likely to pay. Your inputs could be something like your user sign up list. It could be in a simple CSV, Excel file, CRM, Airtable, whatever you want to use, right? But always add tags and notes from user interactions. Get both qualitative and quantitative feedback, surveys, chats, polls, and more targeted closed questions. And your actions could be something like, to categorize the users. Maybe some are power users, some are more optional, some are feedback givers. Then filter those users who engage weekly or request a feature and choose 5 to 10 users from that list so that you can start with identifying your success indicators. Sometimes those could be something like you've identified the top 10% of most engaged users, you know their use cases and pain points, and now your outputs could look like something like you know whom to test your conversion journey on first, right? So in step two, the checklist could look like something of I've shortlisted my 5 to 10 highest potential early adopters. Now you've clarified you've clarified your messaging, right? And then you've identified the priority users in step two. Now, step three, you're going to build trust before the ask. The goal is users typically convert in early stages when they trust your intent, not just your product. A lot of it is based on the personal founder story you have. What is your roadmap? What is your product plan? What are some case studies or testimonials, even if it's informal, right? It need not be very formal. And the actions could be something like you email your early users, here is why I built this. Share your product journey via either Notion, Loom, Substack, whatever works. Don't try to spend a lot of time buying products or building the processes. Keep it simple so you can sustain it for the long term. And definitely ask one-to-one follow-up questions. It could be a simple chat or email messages, but definitely try to identify your success indicators in step three when you get replies like thanks for sharing or excited to test this. So those are like real users who are engaged both with your product and you as a founder journey and are also willing to give feedback. Try to find out at least three users who can engage more deeply in that. At step three, your outcomes could be something like your early adopters feel personally invested in your journey. And your step three checklist is something like I've shared a founder led trust building message to early users. Now that we've done step one, two, three, let's move on to step four. So, step four is more like designing a clear conversion moment, right? You need to have a clear, structured moment when users can say yes and pay. Your inputs could be you need to have your basic payment system like Stripe or something similar handy. You need to have your pricing draft. Typically, for this early stage, try to anchor low for testing because the most use you will get through this testing is number one, product is validated, not for its features, but also for customers that are willing to pay, however low it could be. So you can start anywhere between $5 to $50 a month, but don't try to go higher in this early stage. Then try to offer your framing, right? So what's your offer? Is it a monthly offer, beta offer, discount offer? Are you getting some access benefits? These are things that you need to clarify upfront without users trying to come back to you and ask questions. That kind of eliminates an extra friction point. Then reach out to users. Ask them, would you pay X for this version? Send a simple checkout link, maybe just one click, follow up one-on-one for feedback, right? And keep the feedback loop really simple. Don't ask too many questions. Keep couple of open-ended, closed-ended questions, but try to focus on one or two things that you really want to identify in this early stage. So at step four, your success indicators could look like maybe you get at least two, three clear yes, or even no answers. Getting a no answer is good, so you can move on to finding different types of customers. And at least one user pays or says, I would pay if something, right? So then you can focus on that if. At step four, your outcomes could be something like you unlock validation and revenue. You can now iterate on pricing. So at step four, your checklist is I've asked early users to pay and offered a clear checkout option. Now, the last thing is step five. Step five, we are going to optimize based on the signals we have received so far between step one to four. Always listen to what worked, improve quickly, and repeat, right? So your inputs could be conversion responses, even a no, like I mentioned earlier. Yes or no conversion responses are real inputs. You can have objections, hesitations. If people are hesitating, ask them why. If people are objecting, ask them why. So those could be your product features, or maybe they are not your ideal clients. So one way or the other, you're able to figure that out. And then definitely use payment data. How many people signed up, how many renew, how many drop off, at what level they sign up, all these are indicators, right? So At this step, your actions could be your categorizing reasons as to why users did pay or did not pay. You're going to adjust price, packaging, and onboarding based on feedback. You're going to email updates based on feedback. Here's what we've improved. Then your success indicators could look like conversion rate rises more than 20% on second ask. Users start referring others. So in this early stage, organic word of mouth is really more important than running ads. Your outcomes could be something like you create momentum, you get paying users, and these paying users, initial set of users, will then become your ambassadors. So at step 5, the checklist could look something like I've iterated based on conversion feedback and improved my funnel. Now, as a quick summary of all 5 steps, here's how your milestone tracker will look like. For step 1, you will see, have you clarified your value promise? Then you have accomplished your step 1. Step 2 is, have you prioritized 5 to 10 early power users? That's your checklist and milestone. For step 3, it's going to be a shared founder story and roadmap. Remember, in this early stage, it's going to be more about the founder and the roadmap and the product, in addition to the features and the benefits, right? And at step 4, do you have a clear pricing offer that users are able to understand and use simple steps to accomplish if they need to buy? Then at step 5, you're going to collect feedback and iterate. And with that, we can maybe touch upon on what happens after you have gained your first set of customers, right? So let us say following the 5 steps, you've gained your first set of customers. Even if it's one customer, it's still a customer. How can you continue with retention, feedback loops, and scaling signals? Then I'll probably go into a step 6. This is more like retain what you have just won. Acquiring your first paying customers is hard, but then the harder part is keeping them and how you are going to continue to build the business. So ask yourself, why did they pay and what would make them stay? And again, feel free to post questions and comments in the chat and I'll respond to them after our session is over today. But this is something I'll talk a little bit more in detail in our later sessions, where we'll go into, okay, after you've acquired your early set of initial customers, even anytime in your business, the most important part is retaining them, using them as ambassadors to gain more organic word of mouth, new customers, right? Then the step 7 could be something like use feedback as an asset, right? Customer feedback is your best marketing asset. What are the words your users say about your business, your product, how it solves their pain points? These are all important testimonials to market your product, not necessarily separate marketing dollars, right? So those are useful, but if you don't have customer testimonials, those may not be as helpful as you would like them to be. Then the last step in terms of retention is step 8. How can you recognize some of the repeatable signals? Now you have a system that works, even if it's a little bit rudimentary, early stage, but before you scale, you need to look for repeatable signals. So you can make it more repeatable, iterate and improve, and then you can scale and expand. So ask yourself, what made you pay for the last software tool you use every week, right? So if you have considered certain things, probably some of your customers are all thinking about that. Second is, have you ever canceled something quickly after trying it and why? Think about that from your customer perspective also, right? And lastly, what's something a user said recently that surprised you? You may be thinking of solving a different pain point, but maybe the user is thinking of a much different story, and you have to add that into your testimonials. Now, in closing, I'd like to wrap today's session on Startup Growth Playbook. We are on session number 13. If today gave you some clarity on turning interest into income, I'd suggest this series is for you. I go live every other week with Startup Growth Playbook. We talk about real tactics for early founders. If you're building SaaS, AI tools, B2B, B2C services, or any type of tech platform, this is where we help each other grow one system at a time. We didn't just cover theory. I gave you a step-by-step conversion system, and we touched upon the retention roadmap at a very high level because we're going to cover that into more detail in the next session. If you have any big takeaways or questions, comments, feel free to drop in the chat. And if this helped, here's what you can do next. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. We can chat about these bi-weekly sessions. If you have a specific topic, you can also drop it in chat and I'll consider that for the upcoming sessions. You can also let me know if any of this framework worked today, or if you have a different framework that's working, I can invite you to talk with me at one of my future sessions. And also, if you want to bookmark this and revisit at a later step, please do so. So our next session will be in 2 weeks, October 15th. I'll announce the topic tomorrow. And thank you again for joining. Let's turn more conversations into customers sustainably. Thank you.